The current time right now is 2:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States, February the 25th, 2022. As of right now, Russian forces are currently on their way to Kiev, the capital city of Ukraine, believed to have the intention of surrounding the city. How do we know this? Well, Russia's aim is to force the Ukrainian government to capitulate. One way of doing so is to take the capital, surround the capital, and close the government. Russia appears to seek to complete this objective by performing a standard Blitzkrieg operation. The goal of Blitzkrieg is to surround the enemy as quickly as possible, creating small pockets before you enclose on that enemy, wiping them out completely. Encircling the enemy is something standard in warfare, but Blitzkrieg is dependent upon two things: speed and armored breakthrough. This conflict has only lasted 3 days, and yet Russia is already at Kiev's doorstep, utilizing these two key factors. Of course, this has in part to do with Russia's positioning in Belarus, but it also has to do with Russia's apparent desire to end this conflict quickly. Russia doesn't want this conflict to drag on. The objective is quick and swift victory. Based off of the moves Russia has taken, we can infer that Russia's main battle plan is in the north looks something like this: establish air superiority by targeting key airfields and facilities, mobilize armored units through Belarus along the Dnieper River, capture key points such as highways and airports, surround the city of Kiev, forcing the Ukrainian government into a decision, and, finally, if Ukraine has not yet capitulated, pinch the created pocket and take the city. Two pieces of evidence early on helped me realize this by yesterday morning on the 24th. The first piece of evidence was Russia's statement that they had no desire to occupy Ukraine. It would be wise not to take the words of our foes as truth. However, assuming that Russia's true goal is in fact to install a puppet government, there's no need to have a long drawn-out war. You only need to do enough to force capitulation. If in fact Russia was seeking to occupy the entirety of Ukraine, we would see a far greater fighting force in Ukraine right now from the Russians. The second piece of evidence was the fact that the Russians took Chernobyl instead of going around it. No doubt Russia would not have taken such a risky move if it had intentions of this being a drawn-out war. They would have instead opted to go around Chernobyl, but they didn't. Once I had seen that Chernobyl was under assault, it became obvious that Russia's objective was in fact to blitzkrieg Kiev and force capitulation as soon as possible. Now, how has this plan played out? Not as successful as Russia might have hoped. Yesterday on the 24th, Russia attempted to capture two key points on their way to Kiev. These points were the nuclear power plants at Chernobyl and the Hostomel Airport, which resides just outside the city of Kiev, about 10 to 11 miles to be exact. Only one of these assaults was successful. The Russian forces were able to take Chernobyl, but were met with heavy resistance at Hostomel Airport, where Ukrainian forces successfully repelled the Russian offensive. This victory appears to be short-lived, however, as multiple reports claim the Russians have captured the airport as of this morning on the 25th. And newer reports of Russian forces in the suburbs of Kiev all but confirm this. Ukrainian intel suggests that a major tank offensive could begin later today. However, it does not appear that Russia is yet in position to perform such an operation. If Russia's goal is overwhelming force on Kiev, I don't believe, based on what we know right now, they yet have that kind of fighting force prepared outside the city limits. According to some reports on the 24th, Russia's offensive in Chernihiv was stalled by Ukrainian defenses. If this is true, we can infer that Russia's offensive on the eastern side of Kiev is not yet positioned to attack, nor is Russia in any position to assault in the south. If Russia's goal is to take Kiev and force the government into capitulation, they cannot leave open any opportunity for officials to possibly escape the area. They know that Ukrainian President Zelensky is in Kiev and is reluctant to leave. Therefore, if they wish to seal the deal on the president, they would have to surround the city and put the president in a forced position. Allowing for the president to escape would more than likely lead to a longer conflict. It's clear that Russia's blitzkrieg is not going as planned, thanks to Ukrainian defenses. There are reports that Russian casualties exceed 350 men, that Ukraine has blown multiple bridges to halt their advance, and that they haven't even established full air superiority yet. But then again, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. A change in plans may take place. Perhaps Russia does not want for Zelensky to change his mind and decide to assault only from the northwest and west and not from an encircled position. Or perhaps Russia never planned to encircle and I'm just wrong. It's all speculation based on limited intel and basic understanding of military strategy. At any rate, unless a ceasefire of some sort is met before Russia decides to make a move, the Battle of Kiev will ensue. Ukrainian civilians have been armed since yesterday as they prepare for the coming attack, and amongst those who have taken up arms are Ukraine's former president Petro Poroshenko and the city's mayor Vitaly Klitschko. Pictures have been circulating of current President Zelensky in uniform, however, these photos are from 2019. Another piece of media that has been circulating is a video of a supposed air-to-air fight between an Su-30 and an Su-27. However, multiple comments and various posts of this video claim it to be a PC render of a fight and not real footage, and therefore I cannot verify its authenticity. Based on the Arma 3 footage that has already been circulating, however, I am willing to say this more than likely is false. Video claiming to show 10,000 Russian forces preparing to reinforce the front lines has also been debunked as footage from a rally a few years ago. Please make sure that before you repost anything or like anything, you are verifying that the information is in fact accurate. As of right now, intel is very limited for the public, and it would be in our best interest to keep it to accurate information only. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'll post as many updates as possible. Please keep in mind that a lot of this is analysis of what's happening on the ground and isn't the word of God, meaning that this isn't an exact picture of what's happening, but the conclusions I've been able to come to based off of the evidence that we have. Intel is limited, and as I said before, please keep the intel to accurate information only. Spreading video game footage is not going to help us. Thank you.